listeners, to another fantastic, amazing bonus episode of Oh My Word. And today, we have for you a special guest author who's going to talk about her debut. So you heard it here first, people. Well, unless you already follow her. And that is Miriam Wade. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello. Hi, thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure and a treat, and we are so excited. So let's get right into things. How did we get to this point? How did you become a writer? How did you get to this point here where all of a sudden you've got this debut coming out?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I would say I've always really enjoyed writing. Like, even as a kid, I was always, like, finding it as one of my hobbies. So I, like, sit in my room and write, and then, like, have all these notebooks of all these, like, never-finished stories I started. And that, I feel like that's been going on, like, since I was, like, second or third grade. But,
Wow.
I would say, like, once I got into, like, middle school and high school, it really was, like, a passion of mine. And so, it was probably when I got, like, my first computer, too. So it was really fun, because I could type up all these stories.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, it's so cool. I can format them and make them look like books.
Yeah.
And it was also really nice because it was almost like a place to kind of almost like escape, but not like, like create your own universe and create your own place where you can just kind of get emotions out in a way. And especially like, middle school or high school is kind of hard time when you have like a lot of changes are going on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so you're like, writing was always just like a really good place for me to handle a lot of like things going on in my life.
Huh.
But yeah, and then college came around, and then I was not really writing because I was like super focused on college, and I was like, gotta get all my classes, gotta get all the good grades. But after college ended, I got back into it, and so I've been working on this book that is coming out for I say about took a year and a half to write, and then it's been about another year since I would say finished it and started sending it out to see if anyone wanted to publish it. So
Right.
It's been a little bit of a journey.
Wow. Did you ever, even with all your writing, do you ever think, oh, one day I'd like to be a professional writer, or just always, I just love writing, didn't really think past that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in middle school, it's like, I'm going to be an author. And
Right.
then I, got to high school, and I was like, I really don't know, if that's, a lucrative career.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I should, try, something else as my career. And I can just always do writing on the side, and then it'd be super cool to, be an author. Hopefully, that could take off at some point, and I could actually do that as my job instead of being it's my side hustle. So.
Oh yeah.
But when you're a kid, you don't really understand money, so you're like, I'm gonna do this job. And
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't always work out for everyone, especially arts. Arts are really hard to break into and get a good following. So.
Oh yeah, so true. So right now you still work your quote unquote regular day job, and then you're writing on the side.
Yes, yeah. So I actually work as a technical writer, so it's kind of interesting because I do writing for my job, but it's
Right.
very different kind of writing. It's not fiction or novels. I do manuals for aircraft, so it's very, very different.
Oh yeah. How do you?
Yeah.
How do you know stuff about aircraft to write manuals about aircraft?
I actually have a degree in aerospace engineering, so
What?
yeah, it seems super crazy, but yeah, I mean, besides writing, I've always been told you're really good at math and science, try engineering, so that's what I did, and then in college I was like, oh, there's this whole field called technical writing, where people do manuals and instructions and things like that, and so that's what I pivoted towards, but
Right.
I didn't change my degree because it was already my third year of college, and I was I'm not going to more college.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of an interesting combo of where I can kind of use some of that engineering, but also there's a little hint of creativity to it, and you have to have like a good eye because you're still like formatting stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty fun.
Oh, that's cool. Well, do you ever feel like you come home and, I've already written so much to do with my regular job and I don't want to look at a computer, or are they two totally different things for you?
I mean, the computer is one thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes, yeah, I definitely get home and I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at screens.
Right.
But it definitely is very different way to use your brain, because with my fiction writing, it's very creative, very open-ended. It's all like whatever I think of.
Right.
Versus like when I'm doing the technical writing, it's more, has to be correct, has to be accurate to the configurations and things like that. And so it's not like I can be like, oh, here I'm going to be very creative in how I word this. So, yeah.
That job wouldn't last very long. Like, yeah. So that's actually good. I guess that's going to be a good segue for us into your novel, which is Rise of Knight and Sword, coming out in November. And
yes.
If I saw and understood correctly, it's like a sci-fi retelling of King Arthur or something like that?
Yeah, so it's a King Arthur like inspired story, so it kind of goes about fighting Excalibur and making King Arthur king. But it is in this new universe that I've created that has some sci-fi elements, because there's like airships and things like that. So there's that, and then there's also some kind of steampunky type things with it, and also one of my favorite parts of it is the universe I created, dinosaurs never went extinct.
Oh.
So instead of having like dragons or these other like mythical beasts that they have in a lot of the Arthurian legends, you have dinosaurs in place of those. So it was fun to write some, interesting interactions with dinosaurs that, we don't have because dinosaurs aren't around anymore. But fun to imagine.
That is an interesting addition. That's a nice cross genre thing that you just did there, bringing the dinosaurs. That's a good. So is it like is the world is it similar to our world, or it's a kind of different planet kind of world?
It's pretty similar to our world. I would say, there's a lot of similar elements in terms of like buildings and roads and stuff, like very much like relatable, and like, oh yeah, I would be like on this commuting train to my job too.
Right. Okay.
But then like there's things that are different that you're like, oh, this isn't our universe. This is a different universe.
Well, there's dinosaurs, so yeah.
Right, exactly.
And I think also because your protagonist, you have a female protagonist also.
Right, yeah. So the story really focuses on Guinevere. So she, like, you meet her in the first chapter, you get to get to know her a little bit, and then she goes on this whole adventure to find Excalibur. And so, she obviously meets Arthur at some point, and you meet, like, some of the Knights of the Round Table, and you meet Merlin, and so, like, all these characters you recognize from classic Arthurian legend.
Right.
But they're all, like, slightly different in this tale. So you have, like, Arthur is a pilot, and he's a bounty hunter, and you kind of, like, not really sure about him at first, but you get to know him a little more, and so, yeah, it's pretty fun.
The only thing, I don't want to spoil the book, but I just need to know if Guinevere is going to be, all friends and everything with King Arthur, and then ditch him for Lancelot.
Well, maybe. You'll have to see in the second book.
Oh, okay, that's a good. So this is going to be part of a series, right? So
yes.
What do you have mapped out? Do you already have a second book signed, or X amount of books signed, or?
Yeah, so I'm working on my second book right now. I've written the first draft, so I'm kind of going through editing that and making it all polished and everything. before I send that out to see if anybody wants to publish it. But then my idea is to do kind of like a set of short stories after that.
Oh, yeah.
Focusing on the different Knights of the Round Table so you get to know them better. So just kind of like little like snippets into their history and their background so you can kind of see like, that makes sense, like why that's their motivation, and oh, that's like a fun story where they get to go on their own adventure.
Right. So a duology, you're thinking of a duology with a bunch of short stories.
Yes, yeah, definitely, and then we'll see how many more books I feel like we'll see after that.
Yeah, what else? Yeah, if anything is left to be said or not. Yeah. So did you go back to all the original Arthurian stuff to, all the original legends, all the original stories to kind of quote unquote research the book, or how did you approach trying to retell the story that's such a familiar story?
Yeah, so I read a lot of different like people's translations or retellings themselves of it. So
right.
like a lot of kids books, because there's a lot of like short ones there which are nice, and then just a bunch of different ones trying to get a very good view of like in the classic legend, like who are these characters,
right? And
then how can I keep true to that, but also have it be my own spin on it? Because I didn't want it to just be like, oh, it's Guinevere and this is just like who she is by name. Like right. I wanted it to be like, oh, you can see, this part of her character is very much true to the legend, but then also it's tweaks because she is a new character as well.
Right. Well, and there's dinosaurs, so
right. Yes.
I really
can't forget that.
Yeah, I'm a little stuck on the dinosaurs. I think it's such like who thinks of putting in the dinosaurs again? And you put the dinosaurs back in. It's so great.
Yeah, it's pretty fun because like you would think like in the legend, oh, then you would see a dragonfly, but instead it's a pterodactyl, and so it's kind of like, oh,
it's fun. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Was there ever a point when you're doing your retelling and you think, okay, this is the way the original has it. I would like to go in this direction, but I feel like I have to stay faithful to the original, or is it just the original is here as kind of my loose structure, and now I'm just going to go wherever I want with it?
I definitely see the second one as more what I did. I really wanted to make sure the characters were like true to who I wanted them to be too, and so right. like maybe in the original legend, their motivation might have been different, or their characterization might have been a little more different, and especially a lot of King Arthur stuff like isn't very like female centric,
right?
And I really wanted like my female characters to be complete humans and not just like a pretty face.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not. There's only so much that is spent on them in the legend, because it is about King Arthur and the knights.
Right. Yeah, and it really is. And some of my with the knights and stuff, some of them I've changed their genders and stuff, so you have more female characters, which is nice because then you can see there's more than one woman, and they all have their own personality. It's not just like a cookie cutter character.
Right. Right. Did you watch Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail to prepare for this?
I should have. I've seen it many times, but I should have watched it like right before I started writing.
Do they power? Right. That's gonna be the good the prep for the prep for the launch parties. Everyone watches. Do they power Do they power the spaceships with like the coconuts? Maybe that's how you power the spaceship.
That would be great. Or it'd be like Back to the Future, where they like put the coconuts in the garbage thing and then
yeah.
combine it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's funny. So how much of your own, because you got the aerospace engineering background and this technical writing, so how much of that then gets into your novel where you have these spaceships, or you're like, no, it's too much, people don't need to know every single bit?
Yeah, I would say like it doesn't really get in there. I mean, there are definitely authors out there who are really good at like making it hyper realistic with like air travel and stuff, but to me that wasn't crucial to the story, so I was like, well, people can use their imagination a little bit here, and it doesn't need to be like, this is how it works.
Right.
Because that can get really mundane.
Yeah, or an overload of details, which like you said, if it's not necessary, then who cares? Yeah. Oh, I just forgot the other question I was going to ask you. Oh, well. So how's it been so far with, like, once you submitted the novel, you got it accepted. So, I don't know if you could give an estimate, like, how many drafts you did before submission, and then once submission happened, how many times did you have to go through the novel all over again? So, because a lot of people, they say, like, once it's published, like, I don't want to see it anymore. Like, I've been through it so many times, I don't want to look at it anymore.
Yeah, I definitely get that. But I would say I went through a lot of drafts before I felt comfortable enough to send it out. Like, I wrote it, and I was like, oh yeah, it's done! And then I, like, set it aside for a few weeks, and I came back and I was like, wow, this needs a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, definitely spent a good 6+ months revising it, adding to it where I felt like there was stuff missing, taking chapters out that I felt like were either out of character or redundant. So that took quite a while, and then sending it out to see if anyone wanted to publish it, that was its own whole ordeal. Because you gotta be ready for rejection, and I knew that going in. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get so many rejections, but it's still really hard when you get that rejection. You're like, oh man,
so
I like this. But after I signed and stuff, I've been doing edits and stuff, and I'd say it's been quite a few, at least 3 times I've gone through it. And so it's like, I think once it comes out, I have to wait again to read it so I can enjoy it again, because I've just been so entrenched in it that I'm like can forget things, and I'm like, how is this unclear? Oh, right, because I'm the one who's read it 600 times. Obviously, it's clear to me. And then when an editor reads it, they're like, what is this supposed to say? Right. And I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, it's not clear to everyone.
Right. But when, now that you already started writing the sequel, do you have to go back to the first one to double check, what did I do here, or why are they moving this way? You're kind of remembered everything still from all the edits and stuff.
I feel like I go back. I also feel like with the second one, I have the first draft kind of done, but I'm like, well, what I should really do is wait until the first book gets published, then I can go to the second book and make sure it's very cohesive. The characters are very much the same characters, and then suddenly wait a minute, why is this person suddenly doing that? That seems way out of character. And so it's kind of at this point, I've kind of set that second book aside, especially since this book is coming out so soon. I'm super focused on it and getting ready for figuring out what I'm going to do, especially, everybody's kind of stuck at home right now. It's how am I going to do it? Am I going to do a virtual party? Am I going to do this? So kind of figuring all that out instead.
Right. Well, I don't think a lot of people don't realize that after you write the book, there's so much that you have to talk about the book. Then you have to tell people about it, and you have to figure out marketing. I don't know. There's some days that you just feel like I didn't even write today because all I was doing was either on social media or planning stuff and.
There's definitely days where I'm all I did today was go on Instagram, but I guess that's okay because promoting the book. Right.
Yeah, people. That's something I had to learn. Even when my first book came out, and I was like, people don't know you have a book if you don't tell them. You have to tell people.
Exactly. It's not just gonna sell itself. And at first, I was super quiet about it because I was like, what is my book, and people are gonna read it, and everyone's gonna like it, and then my friends are gonna read it, and my friends don't like it, Yeah. But then I'm like, but I gotta tell people, like, I should be really proud of this, that it's coming out, and now I'm just been, like, super vocal about it. Just, like, telling everyone I know, hey, my book's coming out in, like, 6 weeks, check it out!
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Have you had any people review it in advance yet? Either
yeah, I've been getting some advanced reviews, and I've definitely been getting a lot of mixed reviews, which, I mean, I guess kind of expected. I have a very unique universe that not everyone's gonna like.
Right. Dinosaurs!
Yeah, exactly. Like, some people are gonna read it and they're gonna be like, wait a minute, this isn't the story I thought I was reading.
Right.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely really exciting when someone reads it and they like it. And then it's just like, yes.
Yeah. Especially
I'm not the only one who likes it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And especially if it's someone that you don't know. That's even better.
Yeah, because you kind of expect your family and friends to be like, oh yeah, I like it, even if they are
kind of neutral about it.
Because they want to support you and what you are doing. But to get somebody you have no idea who they are to be like, yeah, I really like this, that's like very, very reassuring.
That's awesome. Well, also, like you said, so there's going to be the people who like it or they don't like it, and then there's also the expectation of, oh, I thought I was going to read this kind of retelling. It's a different kind of retelling. Well, if it's not what you expect it to be because you thought, you were going to see the dinosaurs or something, then yeah, you might be disappointed, but that has nothing to do with the book. It just has to do with your expectation.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, really hard because, like, I definitely read, like, as a reader myself, I've definitely read books where I was like, I thought this was going to be this kind of story, and it's not. Right. And then it's hard to, like, get out of that mindset and be like, just enjoy the book for what it is. Right.
That's so true. Well, so are you a very avid reader?
Yeah. I love reading.
Yeah. Most writers, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you usually read? Do you usually read retellings, or do you stay away from that kind of stuff and you're reading other things?
I mean, I read some. I definitely read a lot of, like, sci-fi and fantasy, leaning on the fantasy side of things.
Right.
So, yeah. Lots of fantasy books.
And then how do you get, this is young adult, what you wrote, right? It's considered, it's young adult?
Yeah.
So, did you just randomly, like, oh, I don't want to write for too old, I want to write for teenagers, or was there a specific reason that you chose YA?
I feel like it's mostly because I read a lot of young adult books.
Yeah.
I just, like, really like the style of young adult books. They don't, I don't know why. I guess maybe because I've read young adult books when I was a young adult, and then I never, like, was like, oh, I should read adult books now. So, like, it was very easy for me to just, like, be in that same kind of writing style because that's what I enjoy reading. I was like, well, I'm going to write something I would enjoy reading.
Right.
And I think, like, just young adult books aren't just for, like, teenagers. Like, anyone can read them, which is really nice, too.
Yeah, that's so true. I saw an article a while back about how the young adult genre, I guess you could say, was moving out of just an age group to become a genre unto itself. Because so many other people who weren't teenagers were reading it also.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And then, so that's like, also, I have a cousin who says, like, I'd rather read young adult fantasy because it gets, like, less complicated sometimes than adult fantasy. Sometimes in adult fantasy, there's, like, 1,000 names that you're supposed to be remembering. And who remembers that? I can't remember so many names, so many characters. Like, young adult, they keep it much cleaner. Well, I'll say cleaner, but they keep it much, I guess I'll just say cleaner, but yeah. So were you thinking, still writing for young adults, are you thinking, okay, I gotta make sure that this is something a teenager would say, or things like that, or just, as long as you keep everything young enough, it's okay if they sometimes seem a little bit older or younger. Like, that's not a concern necessarily.
Yeah, so some of my characters are a little bit older, like, I mean, mostly with young adult books, the characters are teenagers, but, my characters are also, like, young professionals, so, like, in their early 20s. So just kind of having that range of ages is also kind of interesting, because I know, like, then if you are a teenager and you're reading it, you can kind of, like, seeing, like, yourself in the future instead of just, like, where you are now.
Oh, yeah, that's true, because it's more of an immediate future than, like, with someone who's 50. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that also, that keeps it out of new adult category? Do you even consider going there? Because it seems like a lot of new adult is just like romance and not other stuff.
Yeah, I feel like young adult is the category, like the genre that this book is, just because new adult is not well known. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people just don't know what new adult means. And so it's kind of a scary label to put on something when you're like trying to reach an audience. But yeah, I would say like it could be in that category as well.
Crossover. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think like books have to be in like one specific category only, which is nice.
Yeah, dinosaurs. Do you notice I'm stuck on the dinosaurs? Oh man, that's great. And I didn't. Is this one of the first books? Is this the first book you've ever written, or you have other books that just don't get to see the light of day?
I have other books that I never finished.
So this is one of the first ones. This is your Mona Lisa. You actually finished it.
Yes, exactly. I actually was like, oh wow, I did it. It's done.
Yeah,
which is like a really weird concept because I've always just kind of like kept writing and it never ended. And it was like, well, at some point, like the story's gotta end. Right. And so, yeah, this one did.
Yeah. So, can you actually pinpoint a reason why you actually finished this one versus other ones? Are you like you're more inspired, or just flow better, or anything like that, or it's like this is just the one that I finished? Maybe you just finally got to the point where you were able to finish the book.
I feel like I just really like this one a lot more than other stories I've started.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, I just had the motivation to complete it versus some other stories where I like have a great idea or a concept and I start it and I get maybe like 10,000 words in and then I'm like, okay, well that was fun, but I don't really have any like connection to this, or it kind of got boring. This one I felt like the whole time I was writing it I was like coming up with more stuff and I really enjoyed that. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. And then when you sent it out, were you thinking to send it just straight to publishers, or you did try the agent route first?
Yeah, so I did like everything. I was like, I'm gonna see. I don't know. I've never done this before. I'm gonna send it to everyone and see who likes it. And then so I'm with a smaller publisher, which is actually I really like, because I feel like I have a lot of say in stuff still, and it's really fun to be able to kind of bounce stuff back and forth, and then do all of that and also like see the publisher, since they've signed like a bunch more people, and see how they're growing and feeling like really exciting because then like I can grow with them as they grow, so it's really cool. Yeah,
fantastic. And then did you get a lot of say in your cover? Did they come to you for a cover idea, or they just made something and they came to you and you're like, yes, that one?
Yeah, so I did actually have quite a bit of say. Like, I sent some other covers that I liked, since they like showed them like, oh, I like this element of it. Like my cover has a border around it, and that was something I really liked on a lot of other covers. And I was like, this would be super cool to incorporate. And then and so like the cover designer like did a mock-up and stuff, and just bounced a couple ideas back and forth. And I love my cover. I'm like really excited about it.
That's fantastic. That's one of the best feelings, is that every time you look at the cover, you almost forget that you wrote the book that's inside because you just love the cover so much.
Right. You're like, oh, I should just put this on a poster and look at it.
That's so true. I was like, one day maybe I'll get all my covers on canvas or something and just decorate a room with them. Just because when the cover's nice, people say don't judge a book by its cover, but totally do. I totally do.
Yeah, it definitely happens. It's hard not to. It's the first impression you get of a book, and you really want it to pop so people look at it and be like, oh, that looks interesting, and then they pick it up and read the back. But if the cover is too boring or blends in, you're like, well, no one's gonna pick it up and see what it's about.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think a lot of people who are not necessarily publishing on higher levels or with bigger companies, they don't realize that, and they don't realize that they should push to make sure that they get a better looking cover. Because Yeah, I mean, if something looks like you pasted it up yourself, I'm gonna think the rest of it's not professional. And it might be.
Right.
I mean, and that's just the way it is. It's kind of terrible, but I think for most people,
it's definitely hard because it's like with even just getting people to read your book, you have to figure out how to even get people to open it, and definitely the cover is one of the ways that if it's intriguing looking, people will be interested in seeing what the book is actually about.
Yeah. Well, good news is that your cover is great. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's good. That's nice. I would put that on bookshelf." Yes.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hold the physical copy of it. This is my book.
Yeah.
Look at it and be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, you just go outside and raise it above your head and let the world see it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Okay. Well, very good. Oh, look at that. We're actually exactly at the time. Great. Okay, so. Always like to wrap up, like I warned you from the beginning, I always like to wrap up with asking if you could fill in the blank of, I love it when either writers or publishers or whomever does X, and I really don't like it when they do X. How would you fill in that blank?
Okay, yeah. So I definitely prepared these questions because I was like, those are really good. So, I would say one of the things I really like about, I guess it's more like books in general than like a specific thing, but I guess the writer and the publisher kind of has to say in this.
Yeah.
I really like when like fantasy books have maps of their universe in them.
Okay.
I just have this distinct memory of being in middle school and telling my mom, we were at the library and I was just like, Mom, the best books, it's gonna be good when there's a map in it. There's no bearing to that at all. I just really have always enjoyed it, and it's never been I'm reading the book and I'll go look at the map. I just love the concept of fantasy universe maps included in books.
Oh, okay, because it's funny you said that, because whenever I see a map in a book, my first thought is always, am I supposed to remember where everything is? Because I'm not going to remember this map.
I never look at them while I'm reading, which is really weird that I love them so much, but it's just such a cool addition to have alongside the book.
That's true. It shows that you have more of a vision of the universe. That is true. Yeah. Well, you posted a picture. You posted sort of a map. Is that in your book, or is that something you did as a side thing?
Yeah. So, my sister-in-law, Amanda Wade, she actually designed that map for me, and it's going to be included in the print, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. Good. So you get so many of your favorite wishes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, this is something I'm going to make sure to get included because I love this.
That's great. That's so great. How much of that, how much brain power do you need then to design the map? Are you like, oh, put everything here. Oh, no, wait a second. It can't be there. It's got to be X amount of distance from each other. What is that?
I mean, I just kind of drew a sketch while I was writing to make sure I wasn't, saying, oh, they went west and then the next time going to the same place, be like, oh, and then they went east.
Right.
Just to be very consistent in the storytelling, and then I let the designer really take it and make it more.
Yeah, because you have
an actual map.
Yeah, it is. It's like a real map.
Napkin drawing.
Yeah, great. And then what would be the inverse of the inverse that I really don't like when writers, publishers, books do that?
Yeah, so I would say I don't like it when in books when writers have their narration say something along the lines of if this was fiction, then blah 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 would happen, but this is real life.
Oh.
I cannot stand that. I don't know. I haven't read that many books that do that, but it's just every time it comes up, I'm like, but it is fiction.
Yeah, you're like, okay, we've seen this line already. Okay, we all know what's going to happen.
The first time you read it, it's kind of fun, but then you get, it kind of is its own cliche now, where I'm like, okay.
We bought the book. We know which section we bought that in, okay? Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, well, very good. So, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast today, and we'll have the link to your website will be in the episode notes for everyone to check out, to see your website, to see you, and to check out your book, and everything that you're going to be up to. Everyone follow, not in a stalker kind of way, but follow on social media, follow website, keep in touch, and see what's going on with your mental work. This was a bonus episode of Oh My Word Podcast. featuring author Miriam Wade. To find out more about Miriam Wade, please look at the link in the episode notes. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Oh My Word Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram. For more, visit el10about.com. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.